Get a Job in Tech, episode 270. Sysadmin or systems administrator versus network administrator. What's the difference? Systems administrator and network admins or network administrator are both important roles within the IT department. While some smaller organizations combine the responsibility of both positions into one role, large computing systems often require specialized support for each type of IT administration. And so the type of role. So what is a sysadmin? Let's go over that one. Sysadmin or systems administrator is in charge of overseeing the functionality of the computer systems. They usually focus on ensuring that all software and hardware components work properly to accomplish systems objectives. Sysadmins deal with issues related to physical computer servers, other hardware and software infrastructure, and they provide assistance for users that need access to IT databases and other system functions. Some of the typical duties for a sysadmin are installing computer servers. Sysadmins will sometimes they'll order the appropriate server hardware, set up the physical environment for the server. They set up the server equipment, so the racks, usually the rack, the PDUs, they'll set that up. They don't set up the power portion, but they'll run the PDUs, which are the things that the power supplies plug into, power distribution unit. It's usually like a 4 to 6 foot strip, like a power strip, and it's usually 240 in the server room. They install operating systems and run tests to confirm functionality, updating computer drivers and software, determining which software to be used in conjunction with the computer hardware is an important part of the sysadmin. They install software and schedule updates to like Windows patches, features to improve the system's interface. To diagnose server issues, IT departments rely on the sysadmins to run diagnostic tests and determine the cause of system failures or delays. Sysadmins usually follow a logical troubleshooting process to find the digital or physical source of the problem. Usually it's just a reboot. A lot of times it'll take care of it, but there are bigger issues for that matter. They responding to tickets from users or customers in that matter. Systems admins or system users submit tickets. This would be individuals who have like a computer, or maybe they access an application on a server. So they'll submit tickets to report issues or bugs on the server environment or the application. And sysadmins read the tickets, go through them, and help the users fix the issue and maybe correct the access for the correct information. Backing up data. Creating and protecting copies of critical system data, is one of the main roles of a sysadmin. They prepare a data backup schedule to create multiple copies of systems like the operating system, the files, etc., in case someone needs to revert to a previous version of the computer system. Usually sysadmins, they don't do this manually. They'll have a software. They'll have like Veeam, NetBackup, Commvault, EMC Networker, NetApp, although NetApp's more of a storage, but nonetheless they do offer a ability to take a snapshot of the data. Determining recovery procedures. Sysadmins are responsible for establishing the process for recovering lost data and reconfiguring a system after a crash. They write instructions that explain how to reliably recover information in different scenarios. They identify application compatibility, because sysadmins are in charge of coordinating activities for multiple users. They need to ensure all systems applications are capable with each part of the computing network. Basically, you have a Windows 32 piece of software, maybe a software that's known to have problems. CC Cleaner is an example of that. You don't want CC Cleaner on your production server, essentially. And you don't want any non-critical software on any of your production servers out there, because you want to keep your production server as clean as possible. You don't want to give access to any of those software out there that doesn't need it. You want to limit it at all costs possible. Anything you don't have to update, and keep your production server, the other applications such as, like say for instance, Chrome, or let's say PuTTY, or let's say 7-Zip, let's say, anything like that. If you don't need it, don't put it on there. Setting up user accounts. Sysadmins also create new users in Active Directory, assign permissions, set passwords in Active Directory, perform manual changes for system users, meaning right-click or delete the user itself, or maybe give access to a user to remotely resolve issues. Maybe they use a program to remote in your computer and fix it that way. A lot of times, sysadmins, they usually are dealing more with servers, like I said, but sometimes they can also help assist with some of the end user issues as well. Document system changes. Documentation is a really critical aspect of running a successful system. So systems admins keep a record of all key server activities and changes and outages to guide further system development. What they're using is they're using some sort of ITIL framework, such as like programs like Remedy, programs like ServiceNow. They use ITIL, the ITIL framework essentially, and that is it just keeps it much better. The other thing they use a polling server, or like a polling system that is able to use like WMI to look at the status of the server and then generate tickets from there. Otherwise, just imagine you have 1,000 servers. You're not going to manage 1,000 servers. That's just not possible. But let's say even 100 servers you manage. Now that gets cumbersome. There's no way you could log into all those servers and check them all the time. So they use some sort of SNMP or polling software to, like Logic Monitor is a big one out there. That's EM7, I think, is another one that's been used in the past. And it just polls the server. It detects for failed hard drives, CPU usage, high CPU usage, things like that. Now, conversely, what is a network admin or network administrator? A network administrator are IT professionals responsible for maintaining network connectivity. This would be like layer 1, essentially, layer 1 to layer 7. They focus on setting up network equipment and ensuring that the network infrastructure can support user activities. Network administrators monitor overall activity and demands on the network to identify vulnerabilities or strange activities. They are in charge of ensuring that the IT systems don't lose connectivity and determining the cause of connection issues. And network administrators' responsibilities include researching and selecting network hardware. This is the key one right here. And of the two, sysadmin or network admin, their devices cost way more than the sysadmin. So for instance, sysadmin, like a new HP server, let's say, costs probably $30,000, something like that. A big one, nice one, with hard drives and all that support. And they're probably looking at $5,000 to $6,000 a year for support, which is what you should get, in my view. Every company should get that you need it. Because if one of those hard drives fail, let's say it's a 20 terabyte hard drive, what's that cost? $400, something like that. And 10 a year, you've already saved your money right there. Plus the support you're going to get is very, very good. Very good. In my experience, for that matter, I've noticed that. So they research and select network admin or network hardware. This is a network admin. Network administrators are responsible for choosing and ordering the right networking equipment to meet their clients' needs. They select the right cables, routers, and switches to support the network of different sizes and capabilities. Usually, if you're a low-end network admin, junior network admin, you're doing some of this, but you're helping somebody else out, and you're watching them do it, and you're just following along, essentially. Network admin is the level of knowledge is needed for this. It's quite high because you really got to take in consideration a lot of things. The security is up the top of mind, really, when you do these type of things. And going to going to events like Cisco Live, this will really help you out, actually, if you're a network admin, because you're going to be able to see all the other individuals out there, what they do, how it works, and you're going to feel like you're not in this alone, essentially. What do other network admins do? They install network equipment, meaning they rack and stack the equipment and run cables. They call it a home run, so they run a long cable from one end to the other. Network administrators also physically install networking equipment to properly project a network signal. They install and secure cables, adjust plug connections, and set up devices to boost and stabilize their connection. Basically install routers and switches, and usually installing cables. Sometimes they make cables. A lot of times they won't even mess with making cables. They'll just buy them pre-made, because that way they'll ensure they're 100% good. And they'll run fiber cables, of course, to patch panels, fiber patch panels, things like that. Monitor network activity. Observing user activity and network processing loads helps network admins identify potential problems, prevent users from overloading the system, and upholding security standards. Sysadmins identify areas of high network activity and make adjustments to limit the impact on network speed or stability. Troubleshooting network connection problems. If a client, like an end user, has a problem connected to the network admins usually determine the cause of the issue. They run network connectivity tests. Usually it's like a show IP interface brief. Maybe they'll log into the switch that user is plugged into, and it'll show, I forget what the command is. Basically, you're trying to see their MAC address. So you're trying to see the interface, the traffic coming in. You want to see that. Is it up? Show IP interface brief is a common one to use if they know the port that the end user is plugged into. So they run, like I said, they run network tests, assess uploads and download speeds, and remotely access client devices to identify user and network issues. They also the ones that everybody points the finger to if there's an issue. Hey, the network's not up. Or this network's slow. It's a network problem, right? They're always the person that Terry points the finger to. And it could be something simple that they're missing. So anyway, the setting up firewalls, this one's really, really important. Network admins are in charge of keeping their network secure using firewalls and other network security tools. They refine their security settings to give permissions to the correct users and prevent any unauthorized access of information. So they'll use like Palo Alto, FortiGate, or Fortinet, I should say. That's Cisco ASA, those devices. So they'll be able to see, and they also lock down ports. They're in charge of that as well. And they all use like some sort of ITIL to track all this. They also respond to outage reports. So a network outage, and it impacts the entire system. Network admins inspect the hardware and software system to determine the cause of the outage and restore connections for all users, or customers for that matter. Now, what are the similarities between the sysadmin and network admin? Sysadmin and network admins are both IT professionals, of course, that develop, support, and maintain information technology infrastructure. Although they focus on different aspects of running a computing system, both sysadmins and net admins work to facilitate day-to-day operations for the system. They usually work together to provide system users with reliable ways to access information and execute their applications. Because network issues can impact servers and vice versa. Network admins and sysadmins might perform similar troubleshooting duties and tasks when resolving an issue in their area of expertise. Other types of similarities include the work environment. Usually, net admins and sysadmins work in an office environment. Sometimes they work from home. Most of the time they work from home. Primarily using software tools on a server or a end computer. Like, what's one, for example? Wireshark is an example of one. That comes to mind. An interface, I forget the name of the interface, but all of the Palo Alto, they have an interface where you can look at the ports, like meaning the firewalls of your environment. You can look at network traffic, things like that. I think it's NetScout, I think is what it's called. They also visit physical sites to install and repair equipment, which requires some basic travel. Network admins and sysadmins, they both work full-time and may have options for flexible overtime. Skills. Network admins and sysadmins have similar skills that they use when resolving problems and managing their network or server. Because they work so closely together, network admins and sysadmins need to understand one another's technical skills. Some of the primary skills involved in these professions are networking, problem solving, that's a big one, strategic thinking, that's a big one, data analysis, another big one, hardware installation, scripting languages such as like Python, Ansible, Puppet, device management, cloud computing. And what are the difference between the system admins versus a network admin? The other thing, despite their similarities, sysadmins and netadmins have a distinct role with many differences to understand the system of and network administration positions. Consider their unique attributes in each of the core aspects of their job. So the scope of work. Sysadmins and network admins have different general objectives. NetAdmins usually encompass tasks related to network maintenance. Sysadmins usually focus on servers, systems, software platforms. Network admins work with concepts related to the network device scripting, routing, IP addresses, network proxies, access points. Sysadmins specialize in knowledge about system complexities like data virtualization, VMware, inventory, and analytics. Here's the big one here for you. Now here's the payoff. Salary. Network admins and sysadmins can both earn a comfortable salary, usually six figures, but sysadmins have a slightly higher earning potential. Sysadmins can earn an average of $90,000 a year, whereas network admins have an average salary of $75,000 a year. Many companies require sysadmins and network admins to be on call in case of a system or network problem, which enables them to earn income through overtime pay. A lot of time companies, what they'll do is you'll be on salary. So if you look for a job, you want to see if you can get one that is per hour. If you know that, especially if it's a small company and you're a network admin or a sysadmin, maybe you're going to be working a lot if you're on salary. So maybe you can try to do an hourly rate really and see how that works. You'll get more overtime essentially. Now, what about the equipment? The equipment, usually sysadmins and network admins, they both access the same type of IT systems. The difference is network admins work with network hardware. So routers, switches, access points, firewalls, and sysadmins usually work with servers, computers, so tower servers. Usually they work with PDUs, sometimes power distribution units. They work with storage devices, sometimes memory, motherboards, I already said power supplies. So education. Sysadmins and network admins have similar education. So employers typically expect a bachelor's degree in computer science. I don't know why they would, but for whatever reason, this is what they're talking about. So whatever. But usually you don't have to have that, and you don't have to have a computer science degree to be a sysadmin. I'll be honest with you, but it helps for that matter. For that matter, it helps. Now, network admin, same thing. They say you need a degree, but you really don't. But what can help you for a net admin, or let's say sysadmin first, if you don't have the degree, let's say. So if you get an MCSE or a Microsoft, so that's a Microsoft certified, well, just get a Microsoft certified professional certification. Usually get the Azure, I think it's AZR 101, I think is the name of the cert, but start there. And for a net admin, the de facto certification out there is a CCNA, Cisco Certified Network Associate. De facto. If you have that, you're pretty much a network admin because you need to learn. The things going into be a CCNA will teach you how to be a network admin. Now, you're not going to be like the best network admin. You're not going to be in charge of a lot of stuff and you get to break things. No, you don't do that. You're going to be someone who like does show run commands. You'll probably be someone like, let's say, the CCNA and all the stuff I've talked about, but let's say something different. You're in a big, giant company and they don't want you touching stuff as a new admin. They'll have you do inventory, probably. So they'll probably have you go to the server, the data center, and say, okay, inventory these racks. You just look at the network device, like switches or routers, and you'll just write on you have a piece of paper, maybe there's a sheet or there's a tablet that says, okay, check this. So you're looking at it. They usually already know it already if they're good, but maybe they want you to check it for whatever reason, maybe busy work, not sure why, but they should already have that. They may even have you label connections. So like a good net admin, like when they're labeling stuff, they'll do it a to and from. For instance, it'll be like you plug in a Ethernet connection on a server, let's say, or no, let's say in a router, or no, let's say in a switch, sorry. So it's going from the switch in rack A or rack 1, let's say, going to rack 5. So what you'll have is it'll be, say, like R1, let's say the PDU number, or not the PDU, but it's a 48U rack. So it'll be, let's say, or 84U rack, sorry. Is that right? Yeah, 84 rack. And what you'll do is you'll say R1 and then say rack number U, like 46 to 42 or 46 through 47U, right? And then dash like 2 R5 and then give the rack number. You might even put the port number as well in there as well. So they'll know when you look at this, okay, it's going here to here. I know exactly where it's going to. I can look at the connection and know exactly where it's going. You'll do that type of work. And don't ever unplug a network connection to see. Somebody's probably going to try to ask you to do that. Hey, you don't know where it's going, just unplug it and then go on the other side and see if it's unplugged. Don't ever do that. Don't do that. That's a resume generating event. Don't do that. That's a bad look. Don't ever do that. Don't do it to fiber either. They say, oh yeah, unplug this. Yeah, if you want to see where the fiber goes, just unplug it and go to see where it plugs in at. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. No matter what anybody tells you, don't ever do that. Never do that. Ever. Okay, that's my soapbox for the day. Okay, so yeah, CCNA experience. Sometimes you can get sysadmins. Usually, anywhere from like 1 to 5 years experience. You'll be a sysadmin. Net admin. It's anywhere from 0 to 5 years experience. You're a net admin, meaning you're 0 to 5. Meaning 0 is, hey, I just passed my CCNA test, my test, and I'm in 2 months in because I just passed my CCNA. That's 0, right? That's 2 months in. So you can be a net admin. Yeah. Certifications, I already talked about certifications. And how do you decide? What do you want to do? So do you want to be a sysadmin? You want to be a network admin? And I would say take both. Take knowledge in both. Take knowledge in both disciplines. So learn a little bit about network admin and learn a little bit about sysadmin. And which one do you like? And sysadmin, there's more feedback, I would say. So you click on something and it gives you some feedback. Whereas netadmin, it's a command and you got to be able to decipher the command. Like, let's just basic example. Show IP interface brief, right? On the switch. What's up, what's down, that's it. Show IP route on a router, let's say show, what is it? show IP route or show run, decipher that text. What does it look like to you? Show protocols. What is it? IP protocol, I think. I think that's command. Nevertheless, it's more command, and then now you decipher. It's a lot of lookups, a lot of figuring out, and logically in your brain, you have to kind of determine where, from A to B, where does it go? Whereas in the sysadmin, it's a lot more visual feedback than NetAdmin. Now, working with smaller IT companies, like basically, so they might have a combination of, it might have you be a sysadmin and a NetAdmin as well. Now, the career goals, what do you want to do? A career goal, so for instance, a sysadmin, right? So you usually start out as sysadmin and you'll go from, say, help desk, maybe call center, to help desk to sysadmin, senior sysadmin, system engineer, senior system engineer to system architect. And usually after system architect, you're like maybe a CIO, chief information officer. And so sysadmin, senior sysadmin, you just do more, bigger footprint. System engineer, you more of the design. Senior system engineer, again, you're more of the design, and you're more of the planning phase as well. A lot of that, meaning big picture planning, real big picture planning. You're planning out your other sites. Maybe you're in charge of different sites. So you got to make sure that they work. You got to make sure that you got to look forward to your life cycle for maybe a year, 2 years down the road. You're going to go to a lot of conventions, definitely, learn from other folks. But career path, usually if you're anywhere like a senior sysadmin, you're making like 150, 160 a year. CIO, it's anywhere from 250 to 500 a year, something like that. With you're doing mostly meetings and your big picture stuff. Now on network admin. So network admin starts at a network admin. So we usually CCNA, and then you have senior network administrator, and usually like a CCNP. So you have CCNA, and then you have CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Professional, and then you have your network engineer, and usually those people are like, not always, right? But they are a CCIE, some of them, Cisco Certified Network Expert. And the benefit of that certification is you have a company, your company has, I think it's 4 or 5 CCIEs working for it. You qualify for what they call a gold partnership. So meaning you're a company and you maybe a reseller or whatever it is you do, but nonetheless, you get a discount. So let's say $1 million router. There are $1 million routers out there, and you're buying it. So you're selling it to a customer, but you're buying it. Now you're going to get anywhere from a 40 to 60% discount for it because you have 4 or 5 CCIEs on staff. Think of that. If you buy 4 routers in a year, you're going to save what, $1.6 million, something like that at the very minimum. And each CCIE costs you maybe anywhere from 160 to 200 a year is what their salary usually is. And definitely, and the CCIEs are usually the people that are planners, the big picture planners, and CCIE can go up and they can be a chief information officer as well, being how that's a big title. That's a big deal. Pretty important responsibility. There's not very many of them out in the world. Maybe 50,000, I think, something like that, 60,000 of that. How many people are in different countries? So the competition is it's not very much if you think about it. And then some people have multiple CCIE. So they have storage provider, they have routing a switch. That's usually the common one. They have security. They have voice, CCIE. They have other certifications like that. And the CCIE itself is like $1,500, $1,800, something like that. And it's It's a one day. It used to be a 2-day back in the day, way back in the day. But it's a 1 day. It's a 1 day test, and they almost interview you, if you will. And you have these mock questions, essentially scenario-based questions. And then after that, you take your lab. And then after that, you get notified if you pass or not, usually the next couple of days after that. And then you take a break in between, lunch break or whatever. And then once you have it, you have your number. Now the learning starts. Now that you have this big credential, people are going to want you to work for them because, again, Gold Partnership has its privileges. So those are some of those things. It's NetAdmin, sysadmin, and the one thing I didn't talk about is the stress level. So the stress level is probably higher on the NetAdmin than it's sysadmin because there's a lot of reading, learning, understanding about NetAdmin versus sysadmin, and you can't just restart the router or restart the switch that you wanted to fix. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to be able to do that. Whereas the server, it's not really going to focus. It's not really going to hurt much, if you will. And production, sure, maybe a little bit, but not as much as a network admin will. People will notice it way often, way more than a sysadmin would. The other thing is, so for instance, network admin. If you remove a BGP, so you may remove a BGP peer, let's say BGP Border Gateway Protocol, and that BGP peer is affecting your internet, you have a big problem, real big problem. Now, maybe your customers don't have internet because what you did, some little command that you messed up. And that's where the stress is in network admin. Now, sysadmin, the stress would be the server's not up, it's not working. I have to drive to the data center because this hard drive failed. It's RAID 5 and 2 jobs failed, and I got to rebuild the whole server, and I want to do it. That's a big deal. Or your customer, you ran out of support, and you got to hurry up and get support on it, run through hoops so you can get it up and working because your customers are relying on it to do whatever function they do. That's the stress level for that. Those are two things. So NetAdmin, sysadmin, and decide what you want, and or not, but get a job in tech either way because that's where it's going. Pays good. Thanks, Hot. We'll see you in the next one.